All right, you're welcome back. Senator Abaribe, representing Abia South Senatorial District, has regained his freedom 5 days after his arrest by men of the Department of State Services, DSS.
Senator Abaribe was released to his lawyers on Tuesday evening after the court granted him administrative bail. In a statement read by his media aide, the senator thanked Nigerians for their great spirit and for standing up against injustice. Senator Abaribe was picked up last Friday morning in Abuja.
He stood as one of the sureties for Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, who regained his freedom after 18 months in detention but has not been seen in public since September. The senator has been under pressure to produce Nnamdi Kanu to attend court sittings. Okay.
Yeah, let's now bring in public affairs analysts.
Liberals
Oshoma.
Yes.
Thank you very much
thinking
indeed.
About some philosophical stuff.
That's a great philosopher.
Yeah, you will have to forgive him for that.
Well, thank you very much indeed for coming.
A pleasure.
Well, reports emerged last night that Senator Abaribe had been released, and that he was first of all arrested for aiding IPOB. And the question that came to my mind was, in what way?
You saw the drama that played out in court, and then it was expected, if you know the person of Justice Binta Nyako is not one to pander to, authority rascality. And so she kept telling the lawyer, what to do. I didn't order this, arrest. And as a judge, there are procedures. If Nnamdi Kanu, if the man that's too shorty for Nnamdi Kanu cannot produce Nnamdi Kanu, it is not the DSS. It's not their duty to go arrest him and ask him to produce. It is for the court first and foremost to make an order that if you don't produce, I will make an order issuing a bench warrant against you, and all of that. And so, but there's been this back and forth on, the shorty had also alleged force majeure, which you can't rule out of this. That, look, this man, from the moment he was granted, bail,
yes,
kept appearing in court. He never defaulted. And so he was due to appear in court, and then suddenly the army invaded his house. And from the time the army were the last to have seen him, so is their word against his family's words. Now the family are saying, look, produce our son. And you are now calling on the shorty to go produce him. And the shorty is saying, look, the man was appearing. I took him on bail. He was appearing until you invaded his house. What's the guarantee that you have not, rearrested him or even killed him? So these are the issues. And nobody has come out with pictorial evidence or otherwise to say we cited Kanu somewhere.
Or anywhere. For that matter.
And so that's where, and then this rascality, this need for the government to tread carefully so as not to be seen to be silencing opposition using allegations like this. You remember, Shehu Sani's own was, some people said he was involved in gun running because he was a very vociferous, person against the government. Then came Dino Melaye. And then Abaribe also. You remember
who has been very vocal on the floor of the
National Assembly. And so, a lot of people, the moment he was arrested, a lot of people said he expected this. Because from the trend, it was, it would only take a matter of time before the government would,
So there are chances then that government could actually have a genuine case against Senator Abaribe. But the way it's going about it, the things that have happened before now cast a very dark cloud, a very serious shadow on government's actions, the optics of it alone. Because in this case, Justice Binta Nyako actually said that this particular case, where she refused initially to grant him bail, had nothing to do with the shortyship of of Nnamdi Kanu. This was a case, according to the DSS, an allegation of gun running and support of a disbanded group. And so she refused to grant him bail, only to have this about turn again, and washing her hands off the case.
You see, I quite agree with you. Like I said, that's why government needs to be very careful. We all know, like I say consistently, prosecution starts from investigation.
Yeah.
If you have a very good case, the steps you take also matters. That's why they say when a judge sits on trial, the judge is on trial. And so because you're trying a matter, the entire world is trying you. In the same vein, when the DSS or the government sits on trial in any matter, the government is on trial.
Also on trial.
Because the world is watching how the steps you're going to take, how you're going to disperse justice in the matter. You might have a very valid case and you just blew it with your actions. And the first one was, he was involved in gun running, supporting a terrorist group. And that's a different ballgame altogether, because people are saying, if you can declare IPOB a terrorist group, how about Meetiala? You know, that's a different topic altogether. And then you now come subsequently, you say, he should produce Nnamdi Kanu. Then in the day that the matter is coming up in court, you bring him to court. It shows that the intention, the reason you arrested him in the first place was not about gun running, because if there is evidence that, yes, we went to his house, we searched his house, we saw guns.
And it took 6 hours, that search.
Yes.
Yes, it went on for 6 hours.
It means that, government actually, were working from the answers to the questions. They already had an answer in mind. And instead of the other way. They already had an answer in mind. And so what they just needed to do was to create a question and work towards it.
And of course, respected senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, has called on President Buhari to call the DSS to order. Because this is looking like, you're just infringing on the human rights of Nigerians.
What they should understand is that someday this government will leave office. You're supposed to be an unbiased agency of government protecting the people, not the government. You remember the DSS under the previous government? They acted as if they were an extension of the ruling party. It's the same thing that is happening.
I remember instances when they came to Lagos here to raid APC offices and cut away some.
I had expected that APC, coming from that backdrop, would do it differently. Now they've transmutated from change to progress. And so
back to change. Oshomole has just clarified that.
And so one would have expected that it would be a different ball game at this time. But the way they're acting, it's as if, nothing has changed. And if you remember also, the current DG, the DSS DG, when he was appointed, a lot of people,
Lawal Daura.
Yes, Lawal Daura, a lot of people raised questions about his competence, not because he was not a retired member of the organization, but that he's partisan, that he's had relationship with the political party over time. But with his actions now, people are going to point back to those era that we said it. And so how do you expect, unbiased investigation from an agency who has acted consistently as an arm of the ruling party? That's why the Femi Falana, the moment it happened, Femi Falana was the first to cry out, to say, look, you don't do this. You need to respect the fundamental human rights of citizens.
Yeah,
if you have any, if you have any allegation against the senator, you investigate him and then charge him. But for you to arrest him and then now start investigation, fishing for offenses to charge him with, is abuse of his fundamental human rights.
All right, talk about fundamental human rights. Laborers, is it lawful for anybody arrested to be denied legal representation? No. Because it took the intervention of Justice Nyako to allow Abaribe have access to a lawyer.
It is not lawful. That's why I told you what they simply did was create an answer and then look for a question. So that's why if you listen, the judge kept insisting, telling the defense lawyer, you know what to do. You know what to do.
Okay,
and
so
allow him access to his lawyer and his family members. And because we might not like the person of Abaribe
or whoever.
But if you don't cry out today, what we will be doing stylishly is encouraging impunity.
Yeah.
And it will get to a time where, it becomes a practice, a norm. And then people will have ready-made, issues to point to. When it was in what did you do?
The word fascism is already rearing its head. People are already using such words to describe this administration.
If you remember also,
really not too good.
During the election in 2015, a lot of people said, look, the president cannot be trusted in a democratic dispensation. He said, look, I'm a born-again Democrat. And with these actions, people are going to also point to those, issues that, look, we've seen how you've handled, issues, the ones that are related to the Meatiala and the killings going on. Even
and
this
IPOB,
morning,
and
IPOB, I was listening to an analyst on radio, and he said, look, IPOB demonstrated, and there was Operation Python Dance, there was Operation Crocodile Smile, and all kinds of operation. And every time there's killing in the Middle Belt, you hear a spokesperson of the Meatiala come out to say, it's because cows were stolen and a few persons were killed. Are they now the police? Are they now the military? Are they now the DSS? If it happens to somebody who has been vociferous against the government, DSS in some cases will not even wait for it to happen before they arrest. So that's why that's why the government need to be very careful. The advisors of the president needs to wake him up. That look, the way you are going, you are consistently demarketing your administration.
So that you don't look partisan.
Yeah, you don't look partisan. You don't look also as a
yes.
dictator in a democratic environment.
All right, just there's no time anymore, but I must ask you this. Ochendo, one of the sureties, has asked the court to suspend obligation on bond until whereabouts of Kano is established, which is pursuant to section 174, 177, and 179 of the Criminal Justice Act of 2015. Do you think that she would grant that?
She might, because with what is playing out, like I said, it can even be alleged that the Nigerian army intentionally invaded Nnamdi Kanu's house, maybe arrested him, to create an opportunity to silence those, that took him on bail. And that's why Ochendo is taking this timely step to say, look, it has happened to Abaribe, I might be the next. And so please, I need cover from the courts. And especially, thank God, the judiciary might have its problem, but subsequently, you see at every turn, they've also been able to rise up to the plate. Like you saw the judgment in Dariye's case and Jolly Yame's case. And then now we are also seeing the same judiciary telling the government that, look, you can't do this. So if you, and then...
So it's an opportunity for the judiciary itself
to
save itself.
To save itself. And then also, what the government does not know is that you don't ask for or look for foreign investors and then you create an environment of dictatorship. Because your businessmen are going to say, look, if this is happening in this environment, it means someday the DSS can just invade your business environment.
Okay, we have to wrap now,
if you are not in good terms with the government.
Now that Abaribe has been let off on bail, what next? Very briefly, what next?
We should be asking the DSS. Okay. If there are charges, then you after your investigation, you comfort. But if there are none, allow the man enjoy his freedom.
We'll have to leave it there. Liberos Oshoma is a lawyer and human rights activist. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll be looking at reconciliatory efforts after the APC convention. Stay with us.